What's up, everybody? It's the Sports Code, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Now, this video is going to be a bit interesting because it's just a spur of the moment type of video. Derrick Rose today dropped 31 points and hit a dagger against the Phoenix Suns. Even though Detroit were up by a good amount, they still ended up coming back, Phoenix Suns, because they're a decent side. But yeah, and this kind of led to a conversation between a friend of mine whether or not Derrick Rose should be kept as a Detroit Piston, or if Detroit Pistons should just move him on. And for now, I'm gonna try and debate both sides and see which side will come on top. Similar to the "Should Jim Boylan be fired" video, it's gonna be divided into categories. Now, the first category. Before I get started on that, if you guys are new to the channel, please like and subscribe and turn notifications on if you want more videos like this. And yeah, let's keep going. For the first category, I want to talk about the age. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, Derrick Rose is 31 years of age. He's just about in his prime, and he's performing as such. Now, this all depends on whether Detroit want to either go and do a semi-rebuild or rebuild completely. And the way that they are heading right now, they've bought out a lot of players. They've traded their star player. The only real players that they have left to trade to start a full rebuild is Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin. So I see the Detroit Pistons ending up going for a full rebuild. That's just my prediction. Maybe if it's a semi-rebuild, they keep Derrick Rose. But in terms of a full rebuild, we're going to come to the age. I don't see how it's beneficial for both Derrick Rose and the Detroit Pistons to keep each other be associated with each other, basically. Derrick Rose is not the type of player that can just wait and have a full rebuild built around him. He's not at that stage of his career anymore. And I think Derrick Rose also needs to be in a win-now environment. So in that perspective, I definitely think that the Pistons should move on Derrick Rose. Now, when it comes to performance, I think Derrick Rose now is well above the 20 points per game average. He's still performing. He is now a starter. So what was going to be the sixth man of the year, he can't really be anymore because he's started a lot of games now, and his performance level has been very high for what people have expected of him in the past few years. He still has very good averages. He's still very efficient. He is the best player on the Detroit Pistons at the moment. So in that retrospect, like I said, it all depends on what the Pistons really want to do. If they are looking for a leadership type role with performances as the type of leadership and the type of style that the younger kids for the Detroit Pistons and the future players of the Detroit Pistons within the next 2 years wants, as then that's fine. I definitely think you should keep Derrick Rose in that respect. When it comes to performance-wise, Derrick Rose is a leading example of how to be a professional, solid performer and a consistent performer every night. And the Detroit Pistons, if they're looking for a full rebuild, for those players that can come in to basically the unknown in the NBA, they're going to face a lot of adversities and they're going to face a lot of struggles, especially in the first couple of years. So Derrick Rose is a very good leader to help and ease them into the NBA. Now, also, with that being said, if they're looking to lose as many games as possible, that's a definite reason to trade Derrick Rose, because you are going to lose games with Derrick Rose. It's happening already now, but you will lose more games without Derrick Rose, is what I'm trying to say. So it depends on if the Pistons are trying to lose as much as possible. But it's already been shown that if you're finishing in the bottom three, you have the best odds. So it's not as important in that retrospect to trade or buy out Derrick Rose in any way. So in this perspective to performance, I definitely think keep. And yeah, keep is for sure. That's the reason for that. Everything I just said. We're going to move on into the mentality. Now, I don't think there's anybody that could say they have a better mentality than Derrick Rose. So if you're talking about the mental side of basketball, This guy has faced it all, really. He's faced injuries, he's faced adversities, he's faced lawsuits, he's faced rape allegations. He's faced it all, man, and he's bounced back and to become one of the better point guards in the NBA. And for sure, it's definitely, in my opinion, a mental game. A lot of it basketball, and Derrick Rose mentally. Not only will he be able to help individuals mentally on the mental side of the game, but he can also kind of show teams all around. So it is a two-way sword. So, and all the teams that would want him would know his mentality. But the Detroit Pistons also knows his mentality, and if they're looking for a rebuild, that he could use Derrick Rose as that type of role model to help build the mentality of players within their organization. And in that retrospect, that's also a two-way sword. These are also very close, because I definitely think that you can have an argument for both sides, but I think you keep Derrick Rose when it comes to his mentality, the mental side of the game, the locker room leadership, and everything like that. Derrick Rose is a very good person to have around. He's not the loudest leader. He's not the one that talks the most. He lets his actions do the talking. Now it comes for the next category. Comes for how quickly can Derrick Rose become a champion with the Detroit Pistons, or basically how long will it take for the rebuild to go on? So, look, the rebuild is definitely happening. If it's a semi-rebuild and they keep Derrick Rose, then it's all going to be based on trades, free agency, and hopefully one or two good draft picks within the next year. If they're able to do that, will the Detroit Pistons end up being world champions or end up being in playoff contention? I don't think it's impossible. Now, free agents, I definitely think that's out of the question unless you're looking for a B-level type free agent that will just go for the money. And there are not too many of them out there, but some players will give in and will take a max contract to go to a place they don't want to go to. And Detroit is, in my view, that's where I see Detroit. It's not a large market. It's not a market where you get the most publicity out of your play. It's often an underlooked market. It's often a market where if you talk to 90% of the people that know of the NBA, the Pistons are not the first team that comes into their mind. And they're definitely probably further down than a lot of the larger markets out there. So, basically what I'm trying to say is free agency is probably a very tough avenue to go down. So I don't think Derrick Rose can wait that long to acquire a good, solid free agent. Now, when it comes to trades, they still have good pieces that they can trade. They can trade Christian Wood if they really wish to, because he has been a very undervalued player for the Detroit Pistons, arguably the second best player behind Derrick Rose this season. They can also trade Blake Griffin, who is coming back on a good contract. Teams might believe that there's still something left in Blake Griffin's game, even though he's had one of his worst seasons as a player in his history. And those are avenues that can probably get something starting as quickly as possible. But, however, I don't think Derrick Rose has enough time to wait, to be honest. He's 31 years of age. He's performing at such a high level. He has maybe a couple of years left at this level, maybe 3 years minimum. And honestly, I don't see him waiting to be that type of role model, that leader of a team. In my eyes, it is basically even. It's a tie. It's either keep or leave. It's really all up to the Detroit Pistons. There are many arguments to keep both or trade, but I'm going to go based on my opinion here. It's tied pretty much two. There's two in terms of leadership and performances to keep Derrick Rose, but there's also how long it will take for a rebuild to actually finish and age. That kind of makes it feel like you need to trade Derrick Rose. In my opinion, as a Derrick Rose fan, I'm not a fan of the Pistons, but I'm a fan of Derrick Rose. And I think that it's pretty much a now or never situation. Derrick Rose, and another thing to keep him, which I'm going to add, is his loyalty. He is loyal to a fault. He is loyal to a team. and I definitely don't see him leaving until his contract is up. So this is up to the Pistons here. Derrick Rose is not going to, in my eyes, in my opinion, I do not see Derrick Rose requesting a trade. I do not see Derrick Rose asking to leave. So this is all up to the Detroit Pistons, and I think it's now or never for Derrick Rose when it comes to how good he can be and how a championship team could really use him. So I would think within the next season, if he can get out of his contract in some way, if Detroit either buy him out or trade him, that's the ideal situation. And trade him to a team that is at least in a better situation at best, that could maybe use him to push to the playoffs or push into playoff contention. The teams that come to my mind, obviously the Lakers are still in heavy contention to get Derrick Rose. It's not going to happen this season, it looks like. Philly has been a team that's been talked about. The Bucks have been talked about, even with Chicago. But I don't see Chicago. I'm a Bulls fan, so of course I'd love that. But I don't see Chicago being in any better situation than the Pistons at the moment, despite having better players around. We're still kind of in the same situation as them. So I don't see Derrick Rose going to the Bulls as the most ideal situation at this time. But you do have teams out there that would be interested in Derrick Rose. His contract is also a good reason that you could easily trade him and get good value out of. But it's also a contract that you could keep, and it won't really affect your rebuilding process. It is a two-way fight between what does the Detroit Pistons plan to do. So yeah, there is good. You could get a lot for Derrick Rose, and I really believe that. If, despite of his age and how much he can bring in terms of a future within a team, you can get a lot out of him just based on his contract. You can get a couple of picks. You could get some players back, at least two. If you can get that from Andre Drummond, you can get that out of Derrick Rose this season. Maybe not as much, but there is something which is better than nothing. So if it was me and I was Detroit, I would definitely sell. Anyway, thank you for watching. Take care. Peace.